My name is Terry Faber, and I'm representing my uncle, PFC Herman Chavita, who was in the Marines during the Korean War.
I'm Deborah Compton, and I'm representing Alvin Eugene Morris, actually Sergeant Alvin Eugene Morris. He was a member of the United States Marine Corps.
My uncle was the first generation American. My grandparents came from Chihuahua, Mexico, so my grandparents lived in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and English was not their first language. My grandmother received the telegram. The telegram was in English. She couldn't read it. So she took it to a neighbor to read it or to interpret what it was, and the neighbor basically said, I don't know how to tell you this, and basically informed my grandmother. At the time, now I'm wondering, informed my grandmother that he was missing, maybe informed my grandmother that he was killed. I don't know. No one really talks about it.
So he died in 1954, I think about 2 weeks before the end of the Korean conflict. He was very important to my dad. It was his older brother, and and my dad was a military man. I have a feeling probably my Uncle Gene's being in the Korean War probably influenced my dad's decision to go into the military. So it was important to my dad, so it's important to me.
What I've learned from these meetings is that he was killed in action on November 22nd, 1952. I was born 7 years later, still very raw for my mother, so any mention of his name brought her to tears. So we learned not to discuss my uncle, not to bring it up.
You know, when you have a family member that you don't have closure, it's just, I think you need that closure no matter who it is. And I think that's something that really probably affected my dad throughout his life, wondering, where he was at. And I know there were a lot of people, my dad would say that in the hometown where my dad grew up in Kauka, Missouri, that they wondered, well, was Gene a POW in Korea? Some people were thoroughly convinced that he wasn't dead, and so I think it makes a difference, when you just don't have that closure. I think it's nice no matter what to have that.
Well, I think it took years for my family, my mother and my mother's sister, to come to terms with what happened. And I think it was through this organization they started hearing about the work that this team is doing. I was really pleasantly surprised at the thoroughness of the information, what they knew of my uncle in that particular battle, from everything that happened to the day before, to the battle, to the days after. The DNA research that's being done, of which my mother and some other siblings have contributed to, the continuing research. And I'm here now, 2015, almost 10 years from the first time I went, and just to see that the work continues. I guess in my mind, I wondered if after a while do you give up? But I'm hearing today that you all aren't giving up, and the science gets better, and remains continue to be found and identified. So that gives me hope that hopefully we get to find my uncle and bring him home before his 3 remaining siblings pass on. If not, my generation, my sons, will continue, hopefully, this journey on behalf of my uncle and the family.